or good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. I've been down and out for the last, well, especially for the last 3 or 4 days. So I don't have quite the voice that I normally do. So I apologize for that. But I still want to hear from you. And I'm here to chat, to answer questions for you tonight. Um, Please jump into the chat as much as you can. I am without my wingman Mike tonight, so I'm managing everything by myself. And you know me, sometimes I can't talk and read the chat at the same time, so be patient with me. um, I want to continue a conversation I started having with Matt Rowe. Matt Rowe from the the Symptom Free MS Symposium, and he's got the holiday symposium on right now this week. So if you haven't chatted or you haven't participated in that, take a look when you get a chance. But we spoke on the opening day about what I thought was important about the holidays and managing the holidays with MS. And if you haven't seen that, you might want to go back and look at it. I think it turned out pretty good, but I want to continue that conversation because it's not over. The holidays go on; they kind of start any time now. The Christmas parties and getting out there and getting active and being faced with different choices than you would normally make in your healthy routines. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to expand on that, and I want to start with the conversation about um, basically food and the fact that the gut is the center point for digestion, right? It's the center point for that leaky gut, which makes it the center point for managing that inappropriate immune response. And you hear me talk about this all the time, that inappropriate immune response that drives the inflammation that causes the neurological involvement with MS. So the gut is the center point. Therefore, food becomes really huge because it can dial that up or it can dial that back. And we're going to start talking about it now because I truly believe an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's much easier to steer away from problems than to show up and say, Teri, I had a horrible time over the holidays and I need to fix this. And I hear that pretty regularly from January till the beginning of March. So, what I'm going to implore you today is to think about that ounce of prevention because it's much easier to prevent any kind of setback than it is to run up afterward trying to clean up. I don't know if I shared with you. I think I might have. The last time I heard Alessio Fasano speak, he was announcing the results of some research that they had done in a paper they had just published, and and in that study they did, it was a small study, mind you, but gosh, Alessio Fasano has been doing these studies for decades. But they found that it took 60 seconds to uh, to implement intestinal permeability by feeding the gut gluten. Less than 60 seconds. And the study went for 6 months. And at the 6 month point, they had only been able to rehabilitate that gut 75% in the participants. So that's big. That's really big. So something that takes you less than a minute to do can take you a better part of a year to correct, right? So when we talk about natural management of multiple sclerosis, we've got to think prevention and we've got to think the gut and we've got to think of food. So, what happens at holiday season is the worst aspects of the standard American diet are in your face. So, what's that? First of all, you might not be at home. You might be at somebody else's home. You might be in a restaurant, and you have no control over things like sugars, bad fats, simple carbohydrates, gluten, dairy, alcohol. Well, you do have control of alcohol. So you've got to be selective, and you've got to be true to your diet. And I'm not even going to sugarcoat. Pardon the pun. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you. Um, you really need to do your due diligence, and this is where just not allowing your regular good routines to break down and fall apart is the first thing. Understanding that, just understanding that this season is a nutritional disaster is a good place to start. You're already ahead of the game. So when you're at somebody's house, you can do the scan. You can do the scan up and down. You don't have to say, "Oh, I can't eat that. I'm gluten free." I don't announce all that stuff. These are personal choices that you've made. You don't owe anybody an explanation for them. And you can gently, I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't want to insult my grandma. She makes these creamy mashed potatoes. So, like everything you shouldn't be eating in one bowl, right?" That's okay. Just be kind and gentle and thank the person who hands that bowl to you and not make any excuses and kindly hand it on over. Um, Find ways to be courteous about these things and don't get all dramatic about the can't, shouldn't, won't, don't. People don't like to hear that. Makes them uncomfortable. And then maybe the conversation becomes, "Oh, why do you do that?" And then guess what happens? You throw the towel in and say, "Okay, well, if they're doing it, excuse me, I'm going to do it." Or guess what? It's Christmas time. Or I deserve it. I've been good all year. It's just in those moments, in those little moments that um, you can incur a huge setback. And what do I mean when I say setback? You're increasing inflammation. So however that manifests for you, it might be worse cog fog, it might be more pain, more headaches, it could be sleep deprivation, which of course we know, doesn't allow the brain to detoxify, which means all kinds of cognitive stuff gets worse. Could be less energy. It could be your mobility takes a hit. So all of these things are the direct consequence of making poor choices at the Christmas dinner table. So what else can you do? There's an old phrase, and you probably know it. We used to use it before we went to parties. You used to say, "Oh, I'm going to preload." So you'd have a couple of drinks at home before you went somewhere. I'm not telling you to have a couple of drinks at home before you go somewhere, but I'm telling you to use that same preload concept and eat at home. So if you're worried about not being able to manage when you get somewhere, don't go there hungry. So eat something first so that when you get there, you're in a better place to pass on that bowl of Cheetos or, be able to scan the dinner table and make good decisions. So be kind to yourself, right? No matter how tempting some of these things may be, think about the consequences that you're going to incur. And it might not be like a gut ache or running to the washroom. Problems through the gut don't have to be an overt gut disaster. Remember, the biggest sensitivity reaction is a delayed hypersensitivity reaction. So if you're having a reaction to foods, you might not feel it for 3 or 4 days. So it's not just what I put in my mouth now and how long it takes me to run to the washroom. It's how I'm going to feel for that whole week, and that's kind of what I hear is like, "Oh my gosh, I've just felt horrible for an entire week or for 2 weeks or whatever it is." So what you put in first. So put all the good stuff on your, and when I say good stuff, I mean good stuff as I would see it as good stuff. Vegetables, uh, excuse me, lean meat, uh, no gravy, that kind of stuff. Put that on your plate first. And then there's no room for Aunt Ellie's, jello salad with baby marshmallows in it. Stuff like that just doesn't come into the question then. Okay. Um, then, so food, being selective, being true to you, all of that with food comes first. Then, of course, there is your castor oil pack. So keeping your castor oil pack, even if you're doing a great job, it can be you can overeat, right? It's like, even if it's all good food, if you're overloading your digestive system, then that can still be a problem for you. So get that castor oil pack at the ready, put it on in the evening when you get home. It does wonders, especially if you are one of these people that have digestive issues. So the castor oil pack is your friend. Um, I want you to remember your probiotics. Remember from some of our past conversations, probiotics are one of those daily basics, and they are very helpful when your GI is not in a happy place. Excuse me for a moment. then, then there's digestive enzymes, and I remember when I first graduated from naturopathic college and started to practice, I was an absolute purist, and I thought, you know what? There's no way I'm ever going to prescribe digestive enzymes, because you want to fix that gut first. Well, now with stress, the standard American diet, all the variables, and a holiday on top of it, you better believe I prescribe digestive enzymes. And now we've got digestive enzymes that contain DPP4, which is the enzyme that helps to break down gluten. And it doesn't make it okay to eat gluten, because the immune system, or the gut and the immune system, still react to the fragments of the broken down gluten, but it does lighten that load. And there's also um, digestive enzymes that are specific to the proteins in dairy that are so problematic. So finding a good quality digestive enzyme. I know I've got a bottle of digestive enzymes in my purse. I've got one in my car. And whenever you go out, use your digestive enzymes. Um, there's a, I don't get any kind of kickback for mentioning brands or anything, but I'm asked all the time. And I know our audience is 50-50 Canadian and American. So there's an amazing product that I used to have at the clinic all the time. And then it went off the air for a few years. You couldn't get it for a few years, but it is back now, and it's available in both Canada and the United States. And it's called Intolerance Complex by the company called Enzyme Science. Oops. And Enzyme Science, that's all they've done for like 50 years is digestive enzymes, and they know their business. So that is one that, if I were looking for a digestive enzyme, that's definitely the one that I would pick up. So we've got food management, we've got our castor oil packs, we've got probiotics, digestive enzymes, and even bitters. And if I am repeating myself, if you've just listened to me talking to Matt Rowe this week, it bears repeating. Bitters are a part of so many traditional medicines as an something to have before a meal to stimulate the digestion. And a lot of bitters have gone on to become popular liqueurs and liquors like absinthe and Jägermeister. Those are actually bitters formulas. So we don't drink a lot of alcohol in this house, but the one thing we do have is a bottle of Jägermeister in the cupboard. So there you go. There's a few options for you in getting those things done. Um, just remember, it's going to be in your face, and it's okay to plan for it. Plan that you're going to be faced with some difficult nutritional decisions, unless you stay home and make your own meal. And but good grief, we've been locked down for how many years now? So I really encourage you to get out and socialize. Just be prepared. If you want to, then you can download a holiday health survival guide that I put together, and it's on my website, terijaklin.com. And that sort of summarizes a lot more. In the coming weeks before Christmas, we're going to talk about sort of all aspects of facing that Christmas holiday. So the mental, emotional, we're going to talk about all that before we get there. So that is what I wanted to speak to you about tonight. I want to say hello, Renee and Chris, because I know you're there too. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you. Oh, Lisa Crookshank and Lisa Smith. Yes, Lisa, I will put that up for sure. I suspect you were talking about the enzyme product. And if you ladies, or if anybody else who's listening has any questions, now would be the time to pop it in the chat. I know nutritional talks, and I don't like lecturing. I don't do that, but you know what? Nutrition and transforming MS naturally are non-negotiables. So be kind to yourself, but be firm with yourself. And remember what our friend Matt Embry says, hashtag no cheat days. Have a good evening.